I've been making video essays on Night in the Woods for a little over a year now. And in that time, I don't think there's a character I've gained more of an appreciation for than Candy Borowski, May's mom. On my first playthrough of the game, I came away feeling like Candy was a well-intentioned mother who cares about her daughter, but can come off as a bit overbearing at times. But a close look at the Borowski family situation reveals that there's much more going on here, and that Candy has every right and reason to be concerned about May's future. And although she doesn't always show it, when all is said and done, she really does empathize with much of what May is going through. In a game where May is forced to reckon with her past and forge a new future, Candy serves as a gateway into May's backstory, shedding light on the problems she's caused and the very realistic concerns about what lies ahead. All the while, she demonstrates the unconditional love and support that May receives from her parents, and makes it clear that they understand May far better than it might seem at first glance. But before I go on, if you are a Night in the Woods fan, then please be sure to like, subscribe, and consider supporting me over on Patreon or with a YouTube channel membership. By supporting me on Patreon or through a YouTube channel membership, you can get everything from exclusive members-only posts to early access to all of my videos. So be sure to check that out if you haven't already. We meet Candy on May's first full day back in Possum Springs. After May wakes up, Candy insists that she come down to see her in the kitchen so they can catch up. They talk for a few minutes, but their conversation doesn't go all that deep. Candy apologizes for the mix-up at the bus station, then presses May for more information about why she left college. May evades the question, and then goes off to the Snack Falcon to meet up with Greg. From then on, May can talk with Candy in the kitchen at the start of each day. It's a compliment to her evening chats with Stan. In the morning, she checks in with her mom, and at night, she checks out with her dad. As a special education teacher, I really like how these segments remind me of the morning and afternoon check-ins I do with my emotional support students. It's a small detail, but for people who are struggling with mental illness, like May is, routines like this can go a long way to helping them feel supported, and it's cool to see that philosophy reflected here. In any case, for the first several days, most of May's conversations with Candy go much like the first one. May tells her what she'll be up to that day, or what she did the night before. Candy comments on it, then presses May about college, and the two part ways. Starting on day 4, May can visit Candy at the church, where she works as a secretary. It's cool to see Candy out in the wild, so to speak, but these meetups don't change much about the relationship, as they typically talk about religion and spirituality or the book Candy's reading at the time. Eventually, however, Candy will get tired of May's evasiveness, and in a heated conversation, calls May out on her lack of responsibility. She questions her decision to leave school, laments all the money they spent sending her off to college in the first place, and hints at the family's frightening financial situation. In response, May throws shade at her mother for never making something of herself, for never leaving Possum Springs. It's a difficult moment to watch, especially as someone who's been on both sides of this conversation to some extent. As I've said a few times by now, I almost dropped out of college at the same point in time that May did, her sophomore year. Though I did manage to pull through, I had plenty of conversations like this one with my own parents along the way. My brother, on the other hand, was not so fortunate, and I remember hearing both him and my parents say things like this after his 2 short-lived stints at school. What I'm getting at here is that there really is no right side in this conversation. I do think there's something to be said about the fact that May's parents decided to send her to college before she was even born, before she even had a say in the matter. That's not great on a whole lot of levels. But that's a topic for another time, when I cover May in what will be the final entry in this series. But for now, let's talk about Candy's feelings on all this. Though she certainly doesn't approach May in a healthy way, she has every reason to be upset. Honestly, I think it's impressive that it took her this long to blow up, given what we learned the very next day. If May tries to talk to Candy after the blow-up by visiting her at the church, she'll refuse. But the following morning, she'll ask to talk to May as soon as she comes downstairs, and apologize for going off on her. It's then that we get to our pivotal conversation with Candy, one that sheds a ton of light on who she is as a person and why she approaches May the way she does. Candy reveals that after the killer incident, when May attacked Andy Cullen with a baseball bat, the family went into significant debt trying to smooth the situation over. Realistically speaking, I think it's safe to say that significant is a bit of an understatement. Smoothing over a situation like this probably included everything from medical bills to legal fees. All of this is to say that the amount of money the killer incident cost them was probably astronomical. Now, just to be clear, May's safety and mental health is more important than any amount of money, and I'm pretty confident that both Candy and Stan would agree with that. But overwhelming debt for a middle-class family like the Borowskis can evolve into an inescapable burden. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened here. In an attempt to get out of their debt, May's parents took out a second mortgage on their house. But the bank they got the loan through turned out to be predatory, and now they owe the bank more than the house is worth. So even if the financial setback from the killer incident has been paid off by now, there's a good chance that this disastrous second mortgage has them swimming in debt once again. So, tying all this together, May's parents went into financial ruin because of their daughter's actions, took out a bad loan in an attempt to preserve her future. And now, at the same time as their daughter has rejected that future, they're facing financial ruin once again, and foreclosure on top of it. That's a lot to take in. Guys, I'm not here to mount a defense of parenthood itself, or make May's parents out to sound like saints. But the reality is that although Candy and Stan did make some serious mistakes here, especially when they decided May's future before she was even born, the fact is that these are actions you'll only see from deeply caring, loving parents. I mean, look at the situation here. They welcome her back into their home even though she hasn't explained to them why she left college, why she gave up on the plans their family made, the very plan that has resulted in the crippling debt that might cost them their home. Further complicating matters is that if you continue this conversation with Candy, she'll reveal that May is a rainbow baby, a child born after a miscarriage, or in this case, multiple miscarriages. She calls May their little miracle, and says that they were about to give up hope right before they learned that she was on the way. Once again, guys, this is a lot to digest. I'm in my early 30s now, and I've known people who have gone through this type of thing. And while I haven't experienced it in my own marriage, I've seen enough to know that it can lead people to some pretty dark places. Candy loves May unconditionally, as all parents should. But she really does go above and beyond in terms of supporting her, something that I believe stems from the miscarriages. No doubt, every morning, when Candy sees May, no matter what state she's in, she's reminded that she's lucky to have her at all, fortunate to be a parent in the first place. So rather than chastise her or expect better of her, she chooses to support her. The outburst was bad, no argument there, but it's better off viewed as a moment of weakness rather than a reflection of how she truly feels. And I think that's the purpose of what happens if you see Candy's storyline through to its end. Further conversations with Candy range from heartwarming, like when her and May talk about eels, to conversations about more serious life events, like when she fantasizes about May getting pregnant and giving her grandbabies. If you keep talking to her, then she'll eventually invite May to join her on a trip to Jenny's Field, a place outside of town where she used to hang out when she was young. It's important to note that in doing so, Candy is skipping out on work, something that shocks May. But that's the point of all this. If you look at the Jenny's Field segment, you'll find nothing revelatory in the dialogue, unlike our earlier conversations with Candy. You'll just find a mother and a daughter having a good time together, basking in the nostalgia of a place that was once special to one of them. In taking May here, and by skipping out on work to do so, Candy is trying to show May that despite her focus on May's future, on the financial burden bearing down on the family, despite her outburst, that she really does understand who May is in the here and now. That she too, at one time, was just a kid trying to find her place in the world, avoiding work and responsibilities to hang out in a field full of sinkholes with her friends. That despite the countless ways they may be different, They're mother and daughter for a reason, and are more alike than May realizes. And that's what makes Candy so important to Night in the Woods. It pains me every time I say this, but we'll never get a Night in the Woods 2. But if we did, I'd hope to see a version of May who has built a stronger bond with both her parents. A May who understands why her mother worries about her the way she does, while remembering that it wasn't all that long ago that Candy was just a kid like her. A May who encourages her father to be a better person, both in his struggle against alcoholism and in fighting for a better workplace. A May who moves forward thanks to the love and support of both Stan and Candy. Thank you so much for watching. This concludes my 3-part miniseries of character commentary videos on the members of May's family. Next up, we'll start to look at the side characters, starting with the highly requested Lori M. Huge shout out to my Night in the Woods collaborators Jordi, Jaen, Moreno, and Wolf.Godwin for my channel art and the music for my videos. Big thanks to all my silver tier subscribers, including James Pruitt, who get early access to these videos thanks to donations of $5 a month. Next week, I'll be dropping another Disco Elysium video. This one will take a look at the notorious Kuno. See you guys then.